Hi there. Once again, I'm Sid Collier, and I do want to welcome you back into my home and tell you that I recently met a most unusual man. He's the most loving and compassionate person I think I've ever encountered, and his quick and easy smile just immediately drew me to him. His olive skin and dark hair made me think that he probably was from somewhere in the Mediterranean basin. The man's eyes were kind, but they also seemed to display a deep hurt that he must have experienced at some point in his young life. His handshake was firm, and yet it was very gentle. Now, normally, I don't let down my defenses when I first encounter someone, but he talked as though he had known me all my life, and I was struck by the fact that his words conveyed a wisdom that seemed far beyond his years. The journalist in me wanted to know more about him, and as I began to ask about his life, I started to doubt all my initial impressions. He said that he had been born in Palestine. His mother was a young girl who became pregnant before she got married. The man to whom she was engaged married her, even though he knew he wasn't really the father of the child. He said that he had been raised in a traditional Jewish home and had learned to make a living as a carpenter. The man went on to tell me that when he was about 30 years of age, he became better acquainted with his real father, whom he said he had first met when he was around 12. His real father then told this young man, he said, that he had a special mission in life. He was to go to his people and recruit a small group of followers who would help him. Those men, he said, were to come from all ranks of life, all the way from the very poor working class to men who had done quite well in their lives. Then he and that tiny band were to help save the Jewish people from bringing about their own destruction. Well, as you can imagine, by this time I was thinking my new friend was mentally disturbed. And what he said next convinced me I was right. The young man told me that his teaching so angered the religious leaders in his country that they had him arrested and turned over to governmental authorities on charges of treason. He was accused of trying to overthrow the government. After a very short trial, my new friend said he was convicted of the charges. And this is the point at which I seriously began to doubt his sanity. He said he had been executed for his alleged crimes, but after 3 days in a mausoleum, he came back from the dead. I asked my friend to give me his name, and you guessed it. He said his name was Jesus. After that, he told me he had come back to life, and then he and his followers had expanded their efforts to include both Jews and Gentiles. He wanted to save everyone from bringing about their own destruction. Clearly, now I should have simply smiled and slowly backed away from him while dialing 911. But there was something about this man that prevented me from turning him aside. And when we meet again, I'll tell you what happened next.